Previously on the Book Dimension.
Hard magic versus soft magic. The debate stems from Brandon Sanderson's first law of magics, which states, an author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. The law itself leaves ample space for both types of magic. While cool powers are essential in creating magic systems, Sanderson's second law of magic states that limitations are greater than powers. Building in limitations to your magic system and to your characters is essential for a compelling story.
Too much strange and too many types of magic can make a story feel bloated. Sanderson's third law of magic states, expand what you already have before you add something new. Sanderson gives 3 different ways to expand and explore your magic: extrapolate, interconnect, and streamline.
Today I'm going to use what I've learned from my studies of Sanderson's laws of magics to create a magic system right before your eyes. If you're new to these styles of videos that I do, I film my work, then speed it up and talk over it, explaining what I'm doing and talking about some of my decisions and processes. Let's do it! First, I want to update my magic system creation setup. In honor of Sanderson's first law, I'm adding a section to brainstorm narrative needs to help me decide how hard or soft I want my magic to be. I'm looking for whether or not I need magic to solve conflict, or if I need it for characterization or character growth. If magic is key to plot or character, then my magic system will need to be a hard magic system. Next, I am beefing up my section on limitations and creating a section for all 3 types of limitations Sanderson references in his second law: limitations, weaknesses, and costs. This will help me brainstorm more effectively. In my template document, I have 2 sections, one that is more ability-based and one that is more phenomenon-based. The phenomenon section looks slightly different, and I can't see a scenario where I would come up with a cost for a phenomenon, but you never know. Maybe that's a flaw in my thinking. I'm pretty happy with my setup for the third law, digging deep. I basically already have a tab for extrapolate, but I'm going to add a few categories. As for interconnection and streamline, I usually do these a little bit more intuitively, so I'm making up a structure right now that is similar to what I have for extrapolation, but just going to use it differently to brainstorm connections between the different types of magic. Feel free to work on a magic system along with me. I left links to my magic system template in the description below, or just watch and be entertained. Now that I've set up my documents, I'm going to brainstorm for about 10 minutes. I really like a lot of these ideas, and I have a vision forming of a magic system that, at least to me, feels really unique. My main idea that I'm going to build around is this idea of layers and directions. I will let the rest build itself, but the other ideas are things I might be able to mix into the system. Let's build this magic. I'm starting by brainstorming general ideas about the system. I think it's going to need to be a hard magic system because the conflict for the narrative, and in my head at this point at least, is centered on magic. And I can foresee the need for the reader to understand the complexities of that conflict, and I'm guessing it will come into play in the conclusion, whatever that is. I'm excited about the idea of different layers being connected to the cardinal directions with some extra fluff to it. I'm not sure if I'll be using color in the end, whether as part of the system or as aesthetic, but I could see it being useful. I'm looking at basic information about the Mayan directions and the symbolism behind them to get some ideas, but I'm not really loving what I'm coming up with, so I think I need to do a little bit of brainstorming off this page. Sometimes this template feels too concrete and I need a free space to think. While I like some of these ideas, I'm struggling to separate the directions from what they are in reality and create this layered idea. So I think I need to take a break. I will come back to this another day and hopefully make some more headway. I'm back, not that you would know the difference. I've let my ideas stew and I've decided to break completely from the Mayan idea. I want to write a Mayan-inspired fantasy, but I don't think this is it. I already have a Mayan-inspired world I built with several drafts of a novel written, and I was trying to force this idea into a world already in my head. So I'm going to break from that completely and go a different direction with a new world, a new plot, and a new dock. I'm loving this idea for a cyberpunk world, and I'm seeing a few potential points of conflict. It's still going to be a hard magic system because the navigation of these directions is too interesting to me to not have it be central to the plot. I still want to have some softer elements though, but I will probably build those in. I'm going to start by defining the central idea of the magic system, jumping into directions. I want to build some limitations into the core of the system before I get building on the different directions. One of the core elements of the system is that from center you can jump into any direction, but cannot jump between other directions. I think too that I want jumpers with a higher sense of self to be better at jumping than someone who doesn't know themselves as well. This sense of self would be all but required in order to jump. Hope you don't have an existential crisis while visiting another direction. This magic system will have, I guess, two types of directions. The cardinal directions with the addition of up, down, and center, and then perception-based directions like forward, backward, left, and right. Or maybe it's left and right to you guys. I don't know. I've had the most ideas about the perception-based directions, so I'm going to start there. I'm thinking that the perceived direction you step into the cardinal directions will change your experience inside that direction. So for example, maybe north is super trippy. It would be advantageous then to step backward into north to strengthen your sense of self to be able to then return back to center. Forward will enhance your ability to navigate the direction you step into. Backward will enhance your sense of self. I'm not sure about left and right, but I'm liking something skill-based. Maybe right will enhance a skill, but I'm not sure on the details yet. Then the opposite maybe for left could be just kind of evened out skills, nothing too good or too bad. I'm going to build the cardinal directions portion only a little today because I still don't feel great about them. I need some more time to think. It's been about a week since I last worked on the system, but I have some ideas and I'm ready to dive back in. I'm going to start just by reviewing everything I have so far. After some deliberation, I've settled on something for north. It's going to be a cognitive world. It's a malleable world, and if you have a high sense of self, you can manipulate it and use as something of a tunnel between two different places in the center world. However, it's overrun with thoughts and ideas and will quickly deteriorate your sense of self. So it can be pretty dangerous, and if you go in there without a strong sense of self, you could easily get stuck. I love this idea because it has a sense of hard magic and soft magic at the same time. The hard magic is the quick, fast rules that can be predicted, but there's plenty of chaos here to cause problems for my characters. Next, I'm liking the idea of making South an AI/tech world. It's going to be a vast, rapidly changing world, inspired by coding or even how you need good prompts to get what you want out of a chatbot. Navigating it will require knowledge. This sounds like a good place for conflict as enemy parties vie for control over the codes and rules governing the AI world. And again, its ever-changing vibe will create some soft magic chaos for my characters to deal with. East will be a world where time is distorted. I'm thinking it's possible to use it to time travel, but the shifts in time are impossible to predict. Anyone who enters will essentially get lost in time. I don't foresee any possibility of anyone ever being able to track the movements of time in this world. Again, this direction has a chaotic element to it. I will have to be careful that I don't use the chaotic portion to solve problems. For example, I will never be able to use time travel as a solution. I could use stepping into East as a solution to flee from someone, but I couldn't use time travel itself as a solution. West will go along with the time theme, but it will be timeless. It's become a sort of historical/future junkyard as people have gotten stuck here throughout all time periods. That's it for today. I need to give it some space and think about the ideas I've had and let myself come up with some new ideas for the last two directions. All right, I'm back and I'm starting out with a potential plot idea. I'm imagining a mother navigating the directions with her kids looking for her MIA spy husband. I'm thinking there will be some clues and maybe a larger nation versus nation conflict for her to navigate. I'm now going to jump into building the last two directions. I'm going to start with down because I already have an idea for it, but I'm not feeling great about up. For down, I'm thinking the world is small and blurry and fuzzy, and for whatever reason, you can only exit it from the same point you left. I see it being really hard to navigate despite its small size, but for those who can navigate down, it'll be really useful to leave messages for others. Okay, finally, up. I'm going to call it HD World. Everything here is crisp and ultra realistic. People visiting this direction will have difficulty with sensory overload, and their sense of self will be sharpened. However, this may lead to increased isolation and their social connections may deteriorate. Next, I'm going to review the perceived directions. I like forward and backward, but I'm going to update the unfavored direction. It will heighten a skill that is weak, but lessen the rest. I'm also considering changing this from skills to senses to simplify the possibilities. But as of right now, I'm going to leave things be. I'm sure that once I get into the story itself, plenty of what I've built will change and shift. I'm also seeing a potential issue that in the timeless direction, I have a weakness being that the drug you take to spark the ability to jump could run out while you were unaware of time, but if the world is truly timeless, that wouldn't work. So I have some work to do there as well. All right, let's extrapolate. This step is where you dive deep into the magic system and look at ways it might affect the world. I'm going to explore jumping in general and then the cardinal directions. A lot of this is brainstorming. None of it is necessarily set into stone. For jumpers, I'm exploring how the magic system in general might appear in sports, art, home life, government. One of my favorite ideas here is the idea of social services built around the needs for jumpers. North is all about thought and requires a strong sense of self. So I'm going to look at how those two pieces will appear in the world. Okay, one of my favorite ideas here is the idea that people often obsess over their self-image. This came out in the idea of potentially having a wider range of pronouns specifying age and heritage as well as gender. South is all about technology, computers, and AI, and is a big reason behind the cyberpunk vibes in the world. My favorite idea on this list is AI/tech focused religions. My favorite ideas about East and West, which are both time focused, is the idea of an anachronistic economy and other anachronistic ideas like potentially a religion might worship someone from the future. I'm taking a break before I work on up and down. I'm feeling creatively sapped, and since I just created up and down in this same session, I want to let them sit before I dig deeper. Let's wrap this up. Up is all about ultra realistic and overpowering the senses with details. My favorite idea here is that people could live here, and those who do try to get out of taxes and live outside the law. Down was kind of hard to come up with ideas for. I focused in on the fact that you have to enter and exit from the same place. And I really like the idea that people take that to heart and want to enter and exit, even life itself, from the same place. And now it's time to look at interconnection. I said earlier I usually do this intuitively, and I feel like I did that this time as well. From my point of view, at least, all the individual pieces of the magic system feel connected and vibe, and I'm pretty happy with its interconnectedness, so I'm going to delete this tab. I don't need it, which means I'm done. What do you think? Would you have made some different decisions? Feel free to add your ideas to the comments. I'd love to hear them. And there you have it. This is not the only way to build a magic system, but it's how I did it. I have posted my quote-unquote final document on my website if you'd like to dig a little deeper. Check that out in the description. I've already started a new series discussing characters, and soon as a part of that series, I'll be coming up with characters for this world where this magic system exists. Check it out by clicking the card.